Billiken fans, welcome back. It is Zach Miller and Peter Hale. It's the Midtown Madness Podcast. Before we get going, I want to just thank you all for listening. And if you're watching on YouTube, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. If you've been watching us and haven't hit the subscribe button yet, what are you doing? You gotta hit the subscribe button. Leave a comment on the video if there's anything we talk about that you take issue with, or you liked, or something we're not talking about. Don't keep us informed of what we should be talking about if we're not. It is a new year, but it is the same salsa, delicious salsa, and that's Two Men in a Garden salsa. You really cannot beat Two Men in a Garden when picking up a jar of salsa at your local grocery store. In fact, make sure a Two Men in a Garden product is on your grocery list every week. If you forget why you're at the grocery store, do not fret. You can use the QR code down at the bottom of the screen or the link in the description to head over to their website, enter code MMP, and get all the salsa you need shipped free. They are the St. Louis Salsa and Pickle Company. They're bringing you everything from mild to screaming hot salsas. They have hot mango salsa, sugar-free salsas. They also have pickles from classic dill to smoky barbecue. Visit them online at twomeninagagarden.com to shop your favorite flavors and learn more, of course, about Kitchen Hub STL. Follow them on social media on Instagram and Twitter at Two Men Salsa. Also, another way to support the pod directly, not only by buying Two Men in a Garden salsa, you can also contribute directly, a Venmo QR code down below. We appreciate anything and everything from you all. Pete, let's tease the folks. We like to tease around here. The good this week, Pete, the first ever win at Siegel Center.
Huge. Yeah, men's basketball went in there, knocked off what is thought to be the other top team in the A10 and VCU, and killed that Siegel Center curse, Zach. I think that's the last A10 gym SLU has not won in yet, so we're all clean. We're all good to go, right?
Yes. I can finally watch a game at the Siegel Center and be like, okay, SLU could win this game.
Exactly.
The bad in women's basketball was flat out bad, both against VCU and against Loyola. And I mean, these two games this week, just a brutal week for women's basketball.
Really disappointing. Those were 2 4-win teams. I'm not talking about in conference. I'm talking about 4 wins overall, 4-10, 4-11. Those are teams you got to beat. The VCU loss happened as the men were beating VCU on the road. The women were losing at home, and then they went to go visit a bad Loyola team and had
they gave it away.
Had a lead in the second half and gave it away. So yeah, it's a tough week for women's basketball.
Sometimes, Pete, I like to bring in a little A10. What are we doing here? Pete, I think the fans need to pay attention to what's going on at VCU right now. VCU had an agreement, and I haven't looked into this. It's just bizarre. Like I DM'd our friend Zach Joaquim. Sorry, I messed that one up. And VCU had this agreement to play at the CarMax Field. It was the new minor league. They even had their own clubhouse that was going to be added in, like a space for VCU specifically. That's not happening anymore. There's no contract. All they had was an MOU, and I don't know where they're going to play. No idea.
It's really strange. Yeah, this is the new. It's replacing the Diamond. If people have been to Richmond before or seen that stadium, it kind of looks like just one corner of one of the like sort of multi-purpose stadiums from the 60s and 70s, that was like pro football and pro baseball in one stadium. It just looks like one corner of that. They're replacing that now. They've got a nice new minor league ballpark going in there for the Flying Squirrels. And yeah, VCU was going to use it as the home field. I don't know what they do now, Zach. I don't know what the plan is.
Games start here in, February, March.
I wonder if they're going to do like SLU field hockey used to have to do and play at like local high schools or a local baseball complex or something.
No idea, man.
Yeah.
What an insane story. We are going to, we're going to talk about this week's game. We're going to start with LaSalle, then we'll get to the VCU game. And after that, we've got another couple of guests for you all. Andrew Bogusch, who is the SNY TV announcer for Fordham games. He's going to join the show. And then after that, we're going to talk with Griffin Wright, who covers Richmond for A10 Talk. So really excited to welcome those two on. Please make sure you give those a listen. Those are going to be just like the VCU interview and the LaSalle interview. These are must listens ahead of the week's games. Pete, let's talk about this 84-72 win at LaSalle on Saturday the 10th. We're going to start with LaSalle, work our way back to VCU. It's fitting this game was being aired on an NBC station because Kellen Thames has firmly established himself as must-see TV.
Yeah, he has. Even in a game like this where he doesn't put up, huge numbers or anything like that, he does something every game, Zach, that makes it worth tuning in for.
And not only that, it's something that you've never seen before as well. And we're going to talk about it a little bit later in this recap. This is a game. Has it changed as the ultimate trap game with the renovation of the arena there? Because I feel like you go into it's a bit different because you don't have the walls on the end. Sure. It's more of an arena bowl style. There's no bleachers. Like it feels like a place to play.
That's right.
Do you think this still holds as a serious trap place for a trap game?
So I think what makes it a trap game, in addition to just being an A10 road game, is it's that second road game after a big road win, right? So you've got the back-to-back, and you won the first one, and it's a big one. And then LaSalle themselves, they're also coming off a road win, right? So that changes the dynamic too, because it's like kind of expected them to probably lose at Rhode Island and then come back home. So anyway, there's just enough variables there that kind of make it a trap game. But I think you're right. In the previous version of this gym, Tom Gola Arena as we knew it, I think it does feel even more trappier than this.
Yeah, and the celebrities were out for this one, Pete. We had LL Cool J at Fordham. We had Gumby at John Glaser Arena.
He's followed them to St. Louis before, too. As soon as I saw that weird green shape in the front row, I was like, oh, you got to be kidding me. They got Gumby back. But one thing we knew, Zach, we were going to get LaSalle's best shot in this game.
Yeah, and, the Billikens did jump out to that 10-2 start. Again, did any of us see any of that? Because of course we get without fail, the game before ours goes over.
When our game came on, it was already 8-2, and we saw points 9 and 10 at the free throw line. That's what we saw, right? So we're out to that 10-2 start, and I would have been a little more upset if it were like close or something like that. But at 10-2, I was like, okay, I know what happened here.
It's funny because that was like the best part of the first half until like 10 minutes to go.
Yeah, it is, because right after that, SLU didn't score again for almost 5 minutes. The zone offense, right? LaSalle was switching defensive looks, playing aggressively, making things difficult for SLU on that end. Road shooting came back to haunt us. It kind of took a while to get going. Fouling was an issue, and we'll jump into this more, but SLU put LaSalle on the line way too much for our first half. The rest were calling it tight. I thought SLU was a little too careless early on. And then defensive rebounding. LaSalle had 10 offensive rebounds in the first half. We all thought St. Joe's was a disaster, and they only had 9. But after that, Zach, SLU gained their composure and then ended the half on a 21-5 run.
Yeah, and of course, I think the main catalyst of that run was none other than Kellen Thames, who did what I described to you as something you would see in a bad basketball movie.
That's right. Yeah, where they write in a play where you're like, okay, this is fun, but this is not a thing that happens in real life.
Yes, this never happens in a game, but it looks great on camera. Kellen Thames tips the pass away. The ball is heading towards the sideline. He jumps into the air, grabs the ball with his right hand, and scoops the ball between his legs as he's kind of hurdle jumping through the air. And he makes I mean, the pass was, I mean, the only way this play could have been crazier is if he actually got it on a fly to, was it Quentin Jones who he passed it to?
Yep, Jones. And if they didn't have two defenders back and well placed, that may have very well happened, Zach, because Thames ran up for it. Like he tried to catch up with Jones in the play to give himself position on the lob, but unfortunately LaSalle did have that second defender there guarding it. So they didn't have that, and Jones just finished the layup himself, which counts for just as much.
Can you imagine? It was number 9 on ESPN.
Yeah,
9 without
yeah, a pass. We're talking about a pass to save a ball, right?
We're
not talking about a finish.
We're talking about a pass.
We're talking about like going out of bounds to save a ball. It makes the Sports Center top 10. If
it didn't even go in. It did like we've seen shots off saving a ball go in.
Yeah, that's right.
That have been like, this was just the pass.
It's just something you haven't seen before. Like you said, he's inventing stuff out there.
He's an artist.
To both of my kids. I knew my kids would get a kick out of this. My daughter who doesn't know anything about basketball, was delighted.
Bless her heart.
She was like, it looks like he's dancing. That's what she told me. It looks like he's dancing. The way he kicked his legs in the air.
He's an artist.
He's an artist, and she appreciates the physicality of his artistry. It was one of those where I wish you had somebody like Bill Walton watching the game to just spin some crazy phrase about whatever Thames was doing there.
I'm sure it would involve Bob Weir. God rest his soul. Man.
Yeah.
I'm not a huge fan of Bill Walton. Are we in the trust tree? I wasn't a huge fan. Anyway, doesn't matter. Like I said, Kellen Thames truly is one of the most unique. He is like Brady Dunlap said, he's a box office draw. I think, did he call out SLU marketing after maybe
that was pretty subtle. I don't know.
Yeah, he's like, you could market this guy. Oh, no shit. All right,
yeah,
let's do it.
He's a box office draw. Yeah, he said he does stuff that you just got to see every game. But go ahead, Zach.
It's worth the $15. Get in there and watch him do something you've never seen before. Like the Globetrotter shit. The Globetrotters were just a Chaffetz.
Yeah, and he's, the Thames is also the local guy, right? So it's like the local player happens to be the one who's doing things that you have to come see.
Yes.
Because you may see something you've never seen before in a college basketball game. But back to this game, Zach, for a while, we end the half on that 21-5 run. We've got a 20-point lead at half. For a while, it seemed like the 20-point margin would more or less hold, and we waited for that trademark second run to happen, but it never really did. Instead, LaSalle chipped away, right? SLU kept fouling. LaSalle went 15 of 26 from the field in the second half. They started, I think, 6 for 6. They just shot it great. SLU's defense wasn't there, and SLU never really got it together on the offensive end either. They shot well enough, but they turned it over too much. They just couldn't string possessions together. And a game that you're up 20 at halftime, you should win by more than 20. SLU never trailed once. They led by as much as 24. I think it was 72-48 at that point, which means that LaSalle outscored them 24-12 to finish the game. And Schertz was just not happy, Zach, with that.
I was not happy. That was the most boring ass game I've that's all I can say about this. Like, there was no, you could tell that SLU was going to win. There was no flow. You could tell the Billikens were going to win, but it was just like, all right, guys, pay attention. It was like that video that came out of McCollum today at Iowa, where he's like, can you focus for just a second? Just one time for me, please. Yeah. Concentrate. And that's really what it felt like. It just felt like a disjointed game with players that were ready to get on a flight and get home.
That's exactly right. Yeah. It just, they just didn't have it in the second half. All I had said is I want to win the second half by 1, right? Because coming into this game, I was like, I think 20 is a reasonable goal. Let's beat 20. We're up 20 at halftime. So I'm like, let's just win the second half by 1. Let's just take care of business. And unfortunately it was -8. So it was the opposite kind of what we wanted to see. But I do want to visit this foul situation, Zach, because SLU had 25 to just 16 for LaSalle. And I don't doubt that SLU fouled more, right? Like most of my frustration in those stretches where it was just whistle every time down the floor was the fact that defenders were kind of making lazy or careless plays.
Mm-hmm.
But it was the second game in a row where it felt like the opponent's entire offense depended on drawing fouls, and the fouls just weren't applied evenly, right? If you're going to call it tight at both ends. LaSalle shot 39 free throws, which is a huge number for a losing team, for a team that was down by as much as 24. And this was another game where SLU won points in the paint by 6, but they shot 17 fewer free throws, and 2 of those were because of a technical foul. So we called it. We think that's a bit of a statistical unlikelihood, I think, as Schertz said. And he said that at the VCU game and this one, but it keeps happening now. His quote was, "In the league, we're 14th in defensive free throw rate, and we don't get to the line. Again, today we win the points in the paint battle, but that's 3 games where we got drubbed in the free throws. It is rare." So far, Zach, what that means is SLU has 20 more fouls than its opponents through 3 A10 games. They've shot 38 fewer free throws, and they've been outscored at the line 64-34. That's a 10-point per game impact at the free throw line, and that's only because our opponents don't shoot as well as we do at the free throw line. Is there something I'm missing about this, Zach? I know you and I, we gripe about, we're fans, we gripe about refs, but
No,
what's happening here? Like what is the explanation for this?
you want me to explain it?
I want you to, like, because I cannot figure it out.
I
want through your eyes what is going. Like, is there anything that you're seeing that is causing us to be? Is it like the fast play? But I mean, it's the defensive end though, right? It's not like like we play fast, but that's offensively. So
right, but we're not getting fouled.
Yeah.
So we're not giving them even opportunities to foul us. I mean, we're shooting threes or we're looking for wide open passes to the rim.
Yeah.
So like there's a few times where I'd see a foul. I'd see Kellen Thames try to take it on his own. Robbie Avila try to take it on his own.
Mm-hmm.
Moving screens on the other team, which maybe, really just any ISO ball is the only time we're really going to get fouled. It feels like.
Yeah. I mean, fouling us is certainly one way to
Otieno doesn't post up.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, we play a style on that end that's sort of low friction, right? Like we're looking for clean looks, open looks, fast looks. I understand that, but what are we doing defensively to get so many whistles? Like I know we switch a lot, we play an aggressive style. We're trying not to give anyone anything easy, but I just it's to me at some point, if you're -10. The impact per game on free throws, it's going to bite you.
I think I think sometimes it does have to, like, again, we play a style that is aggressive. That is, we're an anomaly in that we play fast on offense, but we also just play kind of a gritty defense, which I mean, I don't know. I think it's just stylistic. I think there is something to be said about not getting a favorable whistle, but I mean, I don't know. I think it's kind of self-inflicted in some ways. Not that that's a bad thing. Like, I don't care right now. If it bites us in the ass one day, like, then I'm going to get on here and have something to say about it. But like, if the goal, like, keep going. Like, we're up. We've got one loss, man. I'm chilling.
So for what it's worth, Schertz is trying to, like, he's
working on it. Yes,
he's digging into it. He's actually like, he's sending like video to the league and just being like, what do we got to do here? Because I do think there have been some pretty egregious examples of things that.
Who does that go to? Is there?
It's a good question. I
does that go straight to Bernie's desk?
There's got to be somebody before her who's gonna catch that, But yeah, anyway, so it's definitely something worth monitoring the rest of the season. Regarding turnovers in this game, it's not something that we fixed, right? We ended up with 14 compared to just 7 for LaSalle. So turnover margin still remains an issue. Our turnover rate was 21.2%, higher than the 17% target. But I think the lack of forced turnovers is the bigger issue. To have the depth advantage that SLU does, and to be playing an aggressive defensive style, but to not be forcing more steals, Zach, to not be getting more steals out of that is kind of surprising, right?
Yeah, I mean, it feels like we play a little more of it's almost like an aggressive conservative defense. I don't know if that makes sense. Like we're aggressively up in your ass, but we're also like we're not hopping passing lanes. We're not, we're going for steals, but we're not out there just overselling.
I feel like it's more we would rather have you take a bad shot.
Yes.
Than go for a steal and miss it, right?
Yes. And it's amazing at how often this team has forced teams into bad shots.
No, yeah. I mean, I have no gripes there. They're doing a good job of it. I don't think we did a good job of it in the second half of this game or in that stretch of the first half where we went cold. But yeah, overall, I think that is a strength. If SLU's shooting was off, this game could have become a real problem. 56.9% from the field, 43.5% from three, 72.7% from the line. Pretty consistent across both halves too. So luckily, SLU
we
did
shot
shoot the
well
ball
in this game.
We did, believe it or not.
Oh my God.
Did it feel like it? That's the weirdest part. Like,
dude, honestly, I checked out like 10 minutes to go. So
you didn't miss anything.
I've tried to watch this game. I've actually watched this game like 3 times, and it's just like genuinely one of the most boring games I've ever watched as a Billiken fan.
This one didn't deliver. Most of these games have been appointment viewing, but this was kind of like Santa Clara was not a good one to watch, right? Like that one didn't have much of a flow either. There's only been a few this season that have kind of been like that, and this was definitely one. They had 5 fewer offensive rebounds than LaSalle, and along with that huge disparity in free throw attempts, really just gave themselves fewer opportunities to score and grow the margin, right? So there's the kind of explanation. You shoot well, but you just didn't give yourself as many shots.
Yeah, I guess Dunlap would be the reason. It did not seem like he went 4 for 7 from 3, but he was the game's leading scorer for a while with 17 points. He shot 6 of 9 from the field in total. He played that same role that McCautry played at VCU.
That's exactly right. When the scoring droughts ended, it was on his shots, right? Like that's I like a couple of his threes, like when you say it doesn't feel like he went 4 for 7. He had some notable misses, like a couple like true heat check shots. He really tries to shoot in rhythm and he really tries to shoot fast, but he did hit big ones. He was aggressive out there, Zach, and I think it worked for him more than not.
Dude, I get like maybe I'm just self-fulfilling the shooting numbers. Like I'm expecting us to shoot terribly. And most of the game I did watch, we shot terribly. Like that first half was brutal.
Yep.
And to be fair, we didn't see 2 made free throws. We missed 2 made free throw or 3-pointers. I'm sorry.
Yeah. In the beginning.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, you saw what you saw, right? Like if you and this is one of those games, if you didn't watch a couple very specific clusters, of the game, then you kind of missed all the big stuff.
Yeah. Avila again ended up he's such a quiet, like he's very quiet.
Yeah.
But yeah, he somehow
he ended up being the leading scorer, 18 on 7 of 10 shooting, 2 of 3 from 3. They were good about guarding him out past the perimeter to take away his 3. The only attempts he got out there kind of came on botched plays, missed assignments. But he was tied for a team lead with 6 rebounds too. I think though Schertz was a little critical of him on the defensive end in this game, Zach.
Yeah, he was he just didn't, he seemed to get beat very easily. I thought he made some good plays and he again defended without fouling, which I don't know how he does it, but he does.
Well,
and
He ended up with four, but I think they were all in the second half. And there was one point where I go, is that four on him? And it was only his second. And it was like, I thought I just saw him get three fouls in a row. And somehow he only had gotten two at that point. So that was kind of weird.
Yeah. I don't know. I wasn't super happy with this game at all. It just wasn't entertaining. And that's kind of we won and that's great, but didn't play our
I
best, which again, it's a road conference game, right?
yeah. No, I know. I know.
So,
You can't take anything for granted.
yeah.
But this team still leaves you wanting more because you know what they can do. And I think after those two guys we've already talked about, nobody else is a guy you can really say, oh, he had a good game, right? Like the other guy with 6 rebounds was Amari McCautry. He led SLU with 5 assists. He was third with 13 points, so not bad. He went a perfect 6 of 6 from the free throw line. His only 3-point attempt went in about as perfectly as a ball could go through a rim. But it was a game where he kind of disappeared for stretches too.
Yeah. Jones quietly a good game. Very Quentin Jones type game. 11, 3, and 4. He did turn it over 5 times. And it just again, you could see some frustration building, but like this whole team just felt frustrated. Like this was just a frustrating game, but it's beautiful to come out of it with a double-digit win.
Yeah, yeah, it really is. And speaking of frustrated players, Deion Brown never really got loose in this game. 2 points, 4 rebounds, 2 assists, steal, turnover. The effort was there, but the production wasn't. I think I'd have to go back and kind of see who they were using to guard him most of the game. But they were clearly ready for what he does, Zach. This was not a Deion Brown game, the way the VCU game was.
No, and even with Deion Brown playing a little under the weather at VCU, which we'll talk about, maybe some lingering effects there. We
Fair.
talked about the star of this game, whether it be points or not. He really was the shining star, and that's Kellen Thames, who ended up with 8, 5, and 4. He got sloppy in the second half, which I think like that's part of the thing about him playing like 10 minutes. He's really, really good in 10-minute spurts, but after a while, if he's out there, I think he just kind of devolves a little bit, kind of gets a little too loose.
Yeah, that you took the word I was going to use right out of my mouth is loose. He was loose with the ball, in a way that like he had let me see 3 turnovers, but I don't know how many almost turnovers he had. Like plays that were a little bit broken that didn't get away from us. I feel like he had 3 or 4 of those as well. And he just managed to hang on to it. So loose is a good word for it, Zach. Otieno finished with 7 and 2. It just wasn't his best game. He also struggled with foul trouble, though, 4 in 14 minutes, which was the fewest minutes of any of the 9 players who got in for SLU in this game. So it wasn't his game, and I don't know, nobody else's either, right?
No, not really. This was a team effort of underperformance.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah, it really was.
Green had only 1 3-pointer. And that was his only points. He had 3 fouls in the first half and was quiet in the second. A lot of concern, I think, from a few Billiken fans out there. Sharma, he hit his 3-pointer in the first half, thought he might be feeling it today. Again, all these guys, when they hit their first three, you're like, oh, maybe he's feeling it today. Is he
Yeah,
cooking today? It just didn't happen with Sharma in this one. But again, I think Avila, Dunlap are the only ones where you would say, hey, attaboy, good game. The
mhm.
rest were either average or underperforming.
Yeah, I think that's completely fair. And this is one of those games, Zach, again, that should have been a blowout. LaSalle's down 20 at halftime, and instead of getting put away, they doubled up their first half points, right? 24 in the first half, 48 in the second, 8 away at SLU's lead. Shirts wasn't happy. The outcome to me doesn't negate the fact that we played very sloppy in the second half. We played unsound basketball on both ends. We didn't have the discipline to execute to finish the game the way we should have. It just wasn't close to where it needs to be to the standard that we have for what we want. And I could not agree with him more.
Again, I think I agree. first of all. I think my overall take again, outside of Kellen Thames' wizardry, this was just this was less fun of a viewing experience than VCU by far, and we thought that was an awful viewing experience.
Yeah, I don't know about awful just because the outcome was good, but I thought that one was going to be awful, and we'll get to that. But the important thing, Zach, that's 9 straight wins. It's 3-0 in conference. It's 15-1 overall. They keep saying best since 93-94. For those wondering, that team started 14-0, and they were 19-1 before losing a couple games to come back down to earth a little bit. But Zach, how much did this broadcast bother you? I know this is one where you weren't necessarily live the whole time. You had to come back to it. But I thought NBC Sports, as much as we like them, little off their game.
They were. Yeah, they were. I saw on replay, I saw a couple times. Was it they missed Dunlap's layup?
Yep.
And they had a standings overlay that was on the screen, and there was play going. It was kind of it wasn't great.
They would come back in from commercial. They would try and get you back in with a graphic and kind of talk about whether it's the standings or SLU's statistics or something like that. And then they would stay on whatever camera they came back with and not the camera that was catching the action, and the action had restarted. So you missed multiple plays that way. They kind of botched it. And then they had the A10 standings up, and they were using overall records. So they had teams in the right order, but it didn't look like it because the overall record is not the conference record. So it was all out of whack. And then we got some weird wipes while they sort of adjusted camera color and stuff. It felt like a dress rehearsal for them, and it didn't go well. But oh well. I'm sure they'll do better next time when they're not at LaSalle. But Zach, we have another game to talk about, and I think this one is the headliner for the week.
Yeah, a 71-62 win at Virginia Commonwealth. First win at the Siegel Center ever. Wednesday, January 7th. This ended on a 10-0 run. It's called a kill shot, apparently. I'm learning new terms.
Evan Miyakawa, I think, is who coined that.
Yep, a three-pointer. The triggering of the kill shot was a three-pointer by Amari McCautry, because, of course, it was.
Yeah, that was with the Bills down 1. SLU led by as much as 14 in the second half. A lead that VCU and 3 officials gradually chipped away at. I'm going to say it. And the Rams took the lead, Zach, 62-61 with 2.5 minutes remaining. McCautry goes down to the other end, winds up with an open shot and takes it, hits it. And then SLU proceeded to force difficult shots from VCU, get the rebound, make layups and rebounds, and they closed it out.
Yeah, I said that it was what was amazing about the McCautry shot was that it came on the heels of him being burnt defensively.
Yes.
Which says a lot about his character and his ability to, quote, be a goldfish.
That's right. And he had his sub already coming to the table to sub in for him. It was Otieno. And Schertz had said that it was 2 plays in a row. It wasn't just getting burned on defense. It was, I think he may have had, was it a turnover or he made the wrong play in the offensive end too. So it was back to back. They got Otieno out. McCautry hits the 3. They pull Paul back and let McCautry finish the game because I think it was 2:17 left at that point. Unbelievable shot make. I was stunned, but I kind of felt like VCU's only offense was trying to draw fouls. And when the refs kind of, I don't want to say let contact go at the end, I thought SLU defended them straight up, but they were coming down and they didn't have much of a plan other than let's just try and go at the basket, but they weren't drawing fouls. SLU was getting those defensive rebounds, and that was that. Really an amazing change of fortunes when I thought this game had slipped away.
Pete, you and I said this was the first to 110. We never said that, for the record. We never said that. We always said this was going to be a defensive struggle. Anybody trying to tell you that we said this was going to be an offensive festival is lying to you.
That's right. That's why I'm so glad we don't actually record these, Zach. That these this is live radio. Nobody's
recording this.
So it's your word against ours.
Yes, nobody is keeping track of anything we do.
Yeah, no, the teams, it's funny because the teams played fast for most of the game. They just weren't converting, right? Like it was the focus after that St. Joe's game was just defense, defense, defense. And it showed the team battled on the defensive end. I think both teams did. Schertz's quote was, "We felt we lost our identity. I think we've been one of the better teams in the country defensively, and we needed to find our way." And in a big way that they did that was keeping VCU's two-star players in check.
Yeah, they kept Lazar Djokovic scoreless in the first half. He did end up with 11 with 5 points at the free throw line, at least two of those generously provided by the officials. You know what? Both these guys got the star whistle, but I'm pretty sure that the first three possessions of this game, there was a whistle on whoever was guarding Djokovic. And I think it was obvious that PMJ complained about the contact on Djokovic, and the officials were aware of it. And that was a point of emphasis because that was ridiculous.
Yeah. So Martelli chirping at them, you think did impact how they called it?
100%. I mean, like we had 3 fouls on the first 3 3 offensive opportunities for VCU.
Yeah.
And they were all against whoever was guarding Djokovic. 100%. The other one of those players, Terrence Hill, led VCU in scoring. He was 7 of 7 from the line, only 4 of 12 from the field, so a free throw merchant in this one.
Yeah, he was, but I thought their whole team was. It was just kind of their offense. It was like, okay, if we're getting a tight whistle, we're just going to try and draw fouls, and the refs were happy to oblige. Neither team was
well. I was going to say the Billikens, they found their defense, but their offense is now lost.
Right. Yeah, they did not shoot well in this game. Credit to VCU though. I mean, it was that's a tougher, more athletic, a little bit deeper team than we've played for the most part this season. Is SLU shot 429 from the field, uncharacteristically low, 30% from 3, again low, and even low from the free throw line, 68.8%, worse than their season average. But VCU was somehow even worse from the field, 286 overall, horrible, 250 from 3. You don't want to see that either. But the 83.3% from the free throw line, I think, deserves a little moment here, Zach. VCU was 21 of 24 overall. SLU had just 10 free throw attempts before the final minute when VCU was fouling to stop the clock. So they did end up with 16. But Schertz pointed out that statistic that we talked about in the last game, and it's been true in all 3 conference games so far. So SLU 1 points in the paint, 40-24, but VCU shot 8 more free throws, 14 more before the end of the game. And then against St. Joe's, SLU 1 points in the paint, 38-30, but St. Joe's had 24 free throw attempts compared to 11 for SLU. Again, statistical improbability, and one of those happened at home. Got to figure it out.
The Billikens rebounding in this one was much improved. The rebounding was even, straight up, 42-42. The Billikens only got 6 on the offensive end, but they did limit VCU to 9. A couple of bad calls were included in there. I thought there was just a lot of rebounds in general. A lot of up and down, a lot of missed shots.
Those shooting percentages will do that. Yeah.
Yeah. But the Billikens got the defensive rebounds when they mattered most. Looking at the individual performances, this was my favorite moment online for the Terminally Online. 3-Bid League said it well. As SLU gains more national attention, we can begin to apply the Kellen Thames test. If he doesn't come up in the opening sentences of the conversation on the broadcast, then they probably aren't really watching the Billikens.
Yeah, brilliant. Completely agree. Thames finished with a career high and a game high, 18 points, a team high 10 rebounds, along with 3 assists, which was tied for a team high, plus a steal. He was 4th on the team with 22 minutes, 3rd at +8. With Thames leading SLU against VCU, Zach, that's now 8 different guys who have led the team in scoring this season. In the first, if it was 15 games, now 16. That depth, it's killer. But
is this team going to have anybody on the all conference teams?
Yeah, it's funny. You get that kind of cannibalization. What I will say is I've always thought that about VCU, and historically, not this year as much, but historically they have a lot of really good players and nobody who, like, when you look at them, stood out offensively. But it seemed like the people who know the A10 would always have they would always find a way to get one of those guys on the first team, one way or the other.
Um, let's talk about Dion Brown. We thought this would be a Dion Brown game. We said it, and there was a couple reasons why his numbers weren't better.
Yeah. Yeah. It's one of those games that on paper looked like it would be a great matchup for him. He did get a little bit of foul trouble. He had two absolute garbage calls against him. But 10 points, 5 rebounds, a block, a steal. He was +9 in 23 minutes. But we heard it first from some fan reports, and then Shirts confirmed it. He was throwing up during this game, Zach. And that's the reason he didn't even start the second half. He's getting over some sickness.
We knew he was a dog, though.
Yeah, definite dog.
McCautry, again, we had a classic McCautry game. Good with the bad. A bad second half turnover. You have him missing an assignment on defense, and then his last shift where he hits that massive 3-pointer. He makes some great plays to end the game. Ends up with 6 points, 7 rebounds, 3 assists, and a steal. He leads the team in +15 in 19 minutes.
That one really surprised me too. Plus minus is a funny stat. But I don't think anyone got a worse whistle in this game than Quentin Jones. He was absolutely mugged on consecutive possessions during VCU's second half run, and then whistled for a phantom off-ball foul, which is not something they had called all game. It was crazy to me. And with him, it was the juxtaposition of getting absolutely clubbed 2 possessions in a row at one end to no foul, and then at the other end, they're trying to inbound the ball, and the refs invent something, 30 feet away from the play. And it was like, what are you doing to this guy? Did he say something to you earlier? It was crazy. He scored 9. He finished second at +12. He led the team with 31 minutes, which is 6 minutes more than anyone else played. So Shirts clearly liked what he was doing here.
One of the more egregious plays for him was late, where VCU was guarding him at about half court, and the guy wrapped 2 arms around Q and tipped the ball away, and they just gave SLU the possession, no foul. I don't necessarily understand what they didn't see there.
So many examples, and on just him that I think you could isolate. It made no sense.
Trey Green, Robbie Avila, and Paul Otieno, not Otiero, gave us 8 points apiece. That you could look at it in many different ways for each of them.
It was funny because so many people would say, all 3 of those guys had a bad game or all 3 of them had a good game. It just sort of depends, right? Expectations are naturally higher for the first 2, Green and Avila, but both of them are so unselfish. They don't need to be the guys scoring the most. Say what you will about Avila offensively in this game. He hit free throws when they mattered, and he protected the rim. And then Matthew Winnick gave us a stat after this game. Opponents are shooting 25% against him at the rim this season. It may have been below that in this game. It probably was not helped in the LaSalle game. But nonetheless, he's been great. Underrated, great protecting the rim. Otieno was really impactful on the defensive end. 5 grown man rebounds, 2 grown man blocks.
That
4
block.
Fouls. He did a good job finishing too. I thought this was a really good performance by Otieno.
That block was outrageous from him.
Yeah. He had 2 of them, but one of them in particular. Yeah.
Dunlap only had 4 on 105 from the field. He did help close the game out, as I think many of us expect, with his ability to shoot at the free throw line. Ishan Sharma went scoreless, missed all 3 of his 3-point attempts. He did have a couple of big steals and rebounds as well. All 9 guys played 19 or more minutes.
Yeah, which feels like a statement, right? Instead of doing what some of us suspected in a big game and relying on a smaller number of key guys, he went with all of his top nine, everybody but the freshmen, and they all played a meaningful amount of minutes. It just seems like, to me, that's like we're going up against the best other team in the league on the road, and I'm still going to play everybody, and they're all going to be key contributors.
Yeah. This team just depth. It's crazy. I think we had both of these guests on, and not to spoil it, but like both of them said, I see us hanging with SLU for like the first half, and then it all just dives off a cliff.
It's a smart prediction to make because for number one, we've seen that arc a lot, not in this game necessarily, not in the Salle game. But it just makes perfect sense when you look at our depth, and that's why I think that that's such a statement there. SLU was more disciplined shooting in the second half. They only attempted 6 3-pointers, and they made half of them after going 3 of 14 in the first half. That's part of that may have been VCU's design too, though, Zach.
Yeah. VCU is really not going to get burned from by the Billikens from three. They were selling out to cover the three. They were going to give up everything else, or they were going to try to guard everything else straight up. But they were going to make sure the Billikens did not beat them from three.
Yeah, and Schertz said that coming into this game. He was like, the way that they play defense, they just don't give up much from the perimeter. The 23-point attempts were well below the season average of 27, which again, he expected based on their style. They play a really aggressive man defense. They don't really help. So you've just got that one guy on you, coming all the way out on you, well past the perimeter. It didn't matter who it was. They stick with them. I was hoping that would result in cleaner looks at the basket. It wasn't quite the case. But we did have a couple guys who were able to benefit from that, Zach.
Yeah, Kellen Thames is a great example. He wasn't getting SLU wasn't getting anything. He stood up and took the role of I'm going to go hunt us that basket.
Yeah.
It's crazy that guy on the list of that guy, Robbie. It's not Robbie, number one, and two might not even be Robbie.
Yeah.
Which is crazy thinking about last year.
It really is, because he was the only guy last year when that had, at least inside. You had Jimerson and you had Swope, but a guy who could just go take it at the rim. That was Robbie in his own style. I thought there were times where SLU really spaced them out, made for some easier layups, but just not as much as we thought it was going to be. I'm sure it said after the last game, we're not going to make 19 3-pointers every night, so the defense has to be better. This was not a great shooting performance. He literally said, we're going to have games where we only make 5, 6, 7 shots from outside. And he was spot on. We were 6 of 20. But Zach, the bottom line is this was a big, big win for the program.
Cathartic.
Yeah.
Cathartic is the key word here. First ever win at the Siegel Center. It was in front of a sold out crowd with a bad officiating crew. So the Billikens overcome the home court advantage, overcome the home cooking. They led for 38 minutes and 13 seconds. VCU led for just 13 seconds when they took that 1-point lead late in the game. VCU owned the regular season last year in the league. They won the regular season and the conference tournament. They've been the steady Eddie in the conference at the top. We talk about Dayton a lot, but like, they're not VCU. VCU has been on another level for a longer time.
They're so consistent. They joined the league. They've been the team to beat ever since they joined the league. They were picked to win the A10 this year. One more vote than SLU. I probably would have picked them number one. I said at the time. This was possibly our only quad one opportunity of the season. So to win it is huge. It's a tiebreaker against a team that will win a lot of A10 games. I know they've got 2 losses already, but they're going to win a lot. SLU didn't just gut out a really tough win in a really tough atmosphere, but they were the better team, Zach. And that's no disrespect to VCU. They're also deep, tough, athletic, but SLU was better. That's one thing that stood out to me watching this game is I just felt like, oh, wow, we're the better team. Just so satisfying to watch from that perspective.
Yeah, what I loved about this performance was that every time the Siegel Center started to get into it, SLU made big shots. or big plays to shut them up. The moment was not too big for this team. This team showed composure. This team stuck to the plan, and they made baskets when they needed to and got stops when they needed to, got rebounds when they needed to. And I think this is probably what VCU fans were feeling.
Yeah, our guy Zach Joachim from last week. He's we see everything through our own lens. Fans have that main character syndrome, right? Like every narrative is through your perspective. But he was saying like SLU always had an answer. So from I think the VCU fan perspective was anytime they felt like they had something, SLU had an answer. I do think it's interesting, even that big run they went on in the second half to close out that 14-point lead, to take the lead themselves. The first thing that happens is we hit a 3-pointer and the game's over after that. I don't think they knew that right away. But that's ultimately what happened. The other thing, Zach, the last thing I'll say on why this game was so big for SLU, why we needed this so bad, we have a coach now who has proven that he can win a big game. I did a little bit of an exercise going through the Travis Ford years, trying to figure out what were the big games. Obviously, the St. Bonaventure game in Brooklyn to go to the A10 tournament, or to go to the NCAA tournament, to win the A10 tournament, was number one because of the stakes and what it meant there. But like,
the rest of that tournament, I guess,
the rest of the tournament too, sure. But like the regular season for him, there's not a whole lot there over the course of his entire tenure at SLU. There were some quality, what I'll call quality wins, some power conference wins. He normally got, one a season, more often at home or on a neutral floor. But when it came to like conference road wins that actually were meaningful, he never won at the Siegel Center. He never won at Dayton. And those were the top two teams that we had to beat. And now here we are 3 games into the A10 season. We're 2 wins on the road, 1 at home, and looking really, really good. And it's just to have a big game, a guy who can go out and win a big game. And that is a game that we literally never won under Travis Ford or Jim Cruz after Majerus's players were gone. It just feels different.
It does. That was a bad time. That was bad. Those were bad times. Almost as bad as Steve Lapis is as an announcer.
There's a funny thing that happens sometimes with these, so-called national or neutral guys is they really start to, it's generally they start to favor the home team. Like they really want the home team to win. I don't know what was going on here, but Steve Lapis clearly was in the bag for VCU more than I've really heard. I rarely do I have a complaint about a national guy not being unbiased enough, but good Lord, it was like Billy Packer all over again.
It was a wild experience. I just thought they were bad in general. Like I didn't notice like a slant, although I guess on Twitter, CBS Sports only posted VCU highlights.
Did they really?
Yeah.
Like they just bought like, hey,
that was it.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
For a losing team. Cool. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's a good place to wrap it up. We just had bad broadcast this week, I think.
Yeah. 2 in a row. At least we'll be back home.
Let's look ahead, and we're going to do that first with Andrew Bogusch. And second, we're going to have Griffin Wright, and we're going to head over to those interviews right now. Billiken fans, we're going to go around the A10, and around the A10 is brought to you by 2 Men in a Garden. Pete, tell the folks about 2 Men in a Garden.
2 Men in a Garden's great. They're a sponsor, but we love them anyway. I recently got an order, Zach, and I got to tell you, I did a little bit more in my kitchen experimenting with their stuff. I got 4 salsas this week. I got a medium, 2 hots, and a screaming hot. Last time, because I'll put it this way, right? Hot is closer to medium than it is to screaming hot. Screaming hot, more habanero based, really a step up from the tomato jalapeno, a little bit more subtle ones. So what I did was take medium, 2 hots, screaming hot, throw them all in the blender, make them a little bit smoother, pour them back in those jars. And I really like where I'm at with this, Zach. It's got a little bit saucier texture. I didn't like cut it all the way down, right? I didn't get rid of all the chunks, but I wanted something because we're doing a couple different types of tacos this week. I wanted something a little smoother that would go on a taco a little bit easier. And I wanted, last time leaned a little bit more towards screaming hot than medium. So this time I got it a little closer to hot in the center, get a little bit of a habanero kick from the screaming hot, but it's not overwhelming. So I'm not the only one in my house who can handle it because the other three people in my house don't like spicy food quite as much. So I like where I'm at with that, Zach. And you guys too should head over to 2minuteagarden.com. Go nuts. Get a package. Experiment, enjoy, do whatever you do. Keep it simple. Just open it up and enjoy with your favorite tortilla chip. 2minuteagarden.com. Enter our code MMP. You will get free shipping. It's fantastic stuff. Fantastic deal. Go do it now.
Dr. Frankenstein of salsa over there. Tuesday the 6th, Dayton 79, George Washington 72. If SLU and VCU were the headline matchup of this week, this was the top undercard, arguably the number 3 and number 4 teams.
Yeah, I think so. George Washington scores a ton, but Dayton got the best of them at home.
Wednesday the 7th, LaSalle 79, Rhode Island 72. This was at Rhode Island, which makes it even more bizarre. And of course, people are calling for Archie's head after this, but wait for later in the week because this conference is straight bananas. Richmond 89, Bonaventure 80 at Bonaventure, giving the Bonnies 2 straight losses to open up conference play. Again, wait till the end of this week. George Mason 67, Fordham 58, another road win for the conference. Davidson 79, Loyola 64. Say the line, Pete.
Yet another road win, Zach.
Proof that Loyola isn't suddenly a good team despite starting 2-0. And actually, you know what? They are depleted by injuries this week. I mean, the walking wounded.
Yeah, that's fair.
St. Joe's 97, Duquesne 90 in OT. St. Joe's was the only home team to win on Wednesday, with road teams going 5-1. This conference truly is incredible.
It really is, Zach. And on Saturday the 10th, Fordham went up to St. Bonaventure and beat them 81-77. That's an 0-3 start in conference and a loss at home to what was thought to be the worst team in the league. And Fordham, who's in more trouble, Schmidt or Woj, the way this conference season is starting?
Just crazy. I mean, this is what happens when you kind of do things for clout. Like the Woj hiring felt like I don't know if.
Yeah, and the roster they put together begs to be one of those teams where you go 9 or 10 deep, and that's just not what Schmidt does, right? So
unbelievable.
You might be winding up with a situation where there could be some malcontents there. But stay tuned. George Mason 86, VCU 80. It was at George Mason, but how surprised are you with this result, Zach?
I mean, VCU. Look, I'm very surprised, honestly. I don't think highly of George Mason, and now I just think less of VCU.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting because I actually thought playing VCU, I was like, this is a tough team. I didn't love their offense or anything like that against SLU, but I thought, that does feel like the number 2 team to me. And that surprised me. I just didn't think they would lose 2 in a row, even if that's a tough road game.
Somebody, I don't remember where I saw, maybe it was VCU Ram Nation, but they were talking about how this VCU team is a lot like SLU last year, just good, but doesn't have the pieces to really do anything of substance.
Well, they're definitely deeper. I'll give them that than SLU was last year. Rhode Island 70, Davidson 45. I can't even begin to explain what happened there.
I got nothing, man. That's what this conference is, just a mess.
We'd written off Rhode Island completely, and then they go into Davidson and do that. George Washington 101, Loyola 66. This is somehow the non-slew A10 score that actually made the most sense to me on this day based on how the season had gone to that point. George Washington being a high-scoring team, Loyola being a train wreck, but yeah, still an interesting result nonetheless.
It was, I mean, just watching the score balloon on the score app, just very, very strange.
It started 22-0. 22-0. George Washington got out to. I'm not sure I've ever seen that.
Making me think about Carl Hobbs again.
Yeah, I know. They're good. Sunday the 11th, St. Joe's 67, Richmond 65. That was at Richmond. I think those are just two teams. Those are just two teams who are going to be kind of in the middle of this league, and you never know what they're going to do on any given night. In fact, Zach, I decided to look into it because it seemed like road teams were having an unusual amount of success so far this season, as we saw this week. But I feel like we've been saying that for a couple weeks now. In 26 total A10 games so far, road teams have 17 wins and 9 losses, which is unreal. Basically, if you're the home team, you've got about a 1 in 3 chance of winning. I'm not sure I've seen that before, and I wonder how long that trend's going to continue, or if we just kind of have some early season aberrations here.
This conference is just goofy, Pete.
Yeah,
it really is. It is the definition of goofy. If you look that up in Merriam-Webster, you will see the Atlantic 10 logo. Let's head over to. Let's actually go head over and listen to the interviews previewing Fordham and who are we playing?
Richmond.
Fordham and Richmond. We're going to listen to a couple interviews. Billiken fans, we are continuing our series of guests to come on and talk about our upcoming matchups. This week, we have a guest to preview the Fordham Rams, who visit Chaffetz Arena on Wednesday. It's Andrew Bogusch, and he is the SNY TV announcer for Fordham games. He also hosts the Fordham men's basketball podcast with Mike Magpio. Andrew, thanks for joining the Midtown Madness podcast.
Guys, most importantly, thanks for having me. I really appreciate the invite.
What the hell was LL Cool J doing at Rose Hill?
Yeah. So I guess his godson, his nephew. Now that was a national TV game, so that one was off our radar from our TV broadcast crew. So I didn't have all the nuts and bolts around that one. So I was as surprised as anybody when they cut to him and showed him there. But I guess somebody in his direct or indirect family played for Richmond, and that was the opponent that day. So he was there for that reason. But I did hear after the fact. It was not easy to get LL Cool J up to the gym and into the gym because the entourage was legit, and you normally, you park at the bottom of a hill and you walk up to Rose Hill Gym, but the true VIPs get driven up to the side door of the gym, and obviously he is one of those VIPs, but that was an added wrinkle and a last minute change and this and that. So LL Cool J certainly made an entrance in the Bronx last weekend.
Is it like everybody knows he's there before like anybody has to say anything, because it's like 1,000, 1,500? I don't even know what size is Rose Hill.
What are they? I want to say that they list it somewhere north of 3,000, I think, is capacity.
Yeah.
I don't remember the exact number, but yeah, you can't go into that gym unnoticed.
It is the fact that it's at the top of a hill the reason for the poor attendance, or
that's a loaded question. I was a student from 98 to 02, and I was wondering since then where in particular the students are. I mean, you live and you eat 5 steps from the gym, and games happen with people not even noticing whether they were terrible, they were okay, they had a good opponent coming in that day. I don't understand it. I know multiple ADs and coaches and presidents have tried to figure it out. Obviously, the easiest solution is when you win, people do show up. And a couple years ago, when they had that 25-win season, that place was packed. But it also took until January. It took until the kids came back second semester for it to really take off. So I do believe that they're there and they want to go to games. They just really, really force you to make them go to games.
Fordham's coming off a road win at St. Bonaventure. Was this a surprising result to you? Because for us, I don't think we saw Bonaventure starting 0-3 in conference.
Yeah, them being 0-3 in general is surprising. And I mean, I can't imagine going up there. No matter how you go there, we're not conditioned to assume that Fordham is going to win in Olean. Now, for whatever reason, the last couple of years have been a little friendlier to the Rams. They got them a couple times under the previous regime, and now Mike McPile goes up there for the first time and gets this win on Saturday. And, the way they had been playing, and figuring, I was in the gym when they lost to Mason last Wednesday, and Bonnies were losing or about to lose at the same time, and the consensus was, man, you don't want to deal with an angry Mark Schmidt. And they went up there, scuffled up there, had an angry Mark Schmidt, and somehow came home with a W.
Yeah, it's.
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead, Zach.
No, you go.
Yeah, so you don't want to have an angry Mark Schmidt. DeJour Reeves, big reason why. He scored 31 at Bonaventure. He's having a great season. He's averaging over 17 a game, basically in line with what he did last season at Iona. Do you think this Fordham team's fortunes sort of rise and fall with his, or do they have enough else around him to compensate when he's having an off night?
No, he's the guy. Now, depending on who the opponent is, Christian Henry, who had 9 assists in the game yesterday, he's been kind of battling concussion. He got hurt. He missed the game. He came back. He missed the game, and then he returned again Saturday. So hopefully, for the Fordham standpoint, that he feels good after playing Saturday, and that means he'll be on the floor against you guys on Wednesday. But he's a talented player. He's had a couple of 20-point games, had 127 point, 7 rebounds, 7 assists game back. That was late November, maybe early December. And then they have these kind of twin towers, these two big guys, Jack Whitbourne and Rikus Schulte, who have done a pretty nice job. Whitbourne was a late debut, had kind of a summer knee issue, took him a little longer than expected to get healthy. But now I think he's played 5 games, and he had a double-double on Saturday. Schulte's averaging a double-double. So, the supporting cast has some legitimacy, but Dede Reeves is the one elite player, in particular in terms of scoring the basketball. So he's always going to be the target of the opposing defense. And saying that, he goes for 31 with 6 assists, no turnovers. I'm not sure he missed a free throw Saturday. He was marvelous. He is the reason why they won that game Saturday.
There are some great names on this team, by the way.
Not for a broadcaster.
Well, it's Dede, DeJour.
Yeah.
I'll save the soup DeJour joke. I'll save that for later. I'll save that for the return trip. One name that was on the team, it is a fun name, Zarik Nutter. He was a Georgia State transfer. He was supposed to be a key player this season, but he departed the team after only a few games. What's up with that?
Yeah, I mean that's been a problem. There are 3 guys that would be playing. Nutter in particular, he's the one that really mattered in terms of what they were planning to do, what they thought they could be. They pegged him as a guy that could play 1 through 4. He could score it. He could rebound. He was very good at getting the free throw line. One of those guys that played in 3 or 4 places in 4 years. So he moved around a lot, but wherever he played, he put up points. He got some rebounds, athletic, long body. He was a man. He was grown up. But he and Jace Howard, who was Juwan Howard's son, and then a Dimitri Gardner, a Division II high scoring guard, all between the end of training camp, preseason, so to speak, and then a couple games into the regular season, for different reasons, decided to leave the program, which I feel like happens, more than usual now. The last couple of years in this new landscape, there's a lot of different things going on with players, but Nutter in particular is the one that hurts them from a basketball perspective. But to be honest, guys, he's been out of the picture since the 3rd week of November, I think, if I'm remembering correctly. So, it's 2 months old. It's not even a thing anymore because they've had guys who were injured then, who are healthy now. I don't want to say it's an afterthought. That sounds dismissive. But they've long gotten past figuring out what they were going to be after Nutter. But, there were games in the back half of November, early December, when it was still on the fresher side where you went, man, he might have made a difference in that one. So it was a real loss. But it's also, it's old now. They've moved past it. It's been 2 months. And this is now the team, that they're kind of riding with. And you can start to see what they can be when, like every coach will tell you, when they can play a full 40 minutes the way they want to. As we saw on Saturday, they're capable of beating a lot of teams.
So what they can be, right? Like if I'm looking at their strengths on paper, they're an excellent rebounding team. Schulte's averaging a double-double. They stay out of foul trouble. They finish at the rim. So for SLU fans who may not have watched them play yet, like what can we expect in terms of their style, their identity?
Yeah, I mean, so I think what is obvious to me is that Mike Magpie and his coaching staff, they're very smart guys. They lean on a lot of analytics and deep dives, and they want to be different. There's a standard they want to set. You mentioned the rebounding. They like that they're big and they're tall when they're fully healthy. And Roracor, a freshman, hasn't played the last couple of games. Abbas Bodijo is a redshirt freshman. These guys are thin, but they're long arms, long legs. They can bounce around. Roar in particular can play above the rim. They like to have a lot of these guys on the floor at the same time, almost like one point guard, one guard, and then 4 wing players, 3/4s, and they'll play a zone defense with all these arms and legs bouncing around. So they like their length. They like their versatility. They want to show that off. But they also are going to change depending on whom they're playing. Like I would guess from previous opponents, from talking to Mike, that they'll probably try to slow the game down against you guys on Wednesday because they cannot. They are not built, and I don't know if Fordham ever will be built. They can't win a game in the 80s right now. And I know they scored 81 at Bonaventure, but you guys are in a different class. Your offensive numbers make me want to faint. I know coaches love defense, and I get that, but I'm an offensive guy. Even in Fordham's last game against George Mason, where Mason, they couldn't stop him defensively in the second half. Richmond was the same way. I'm still thinking, man, if they had one more shot go in or one more make, they find a way to change the momentum of that game, and maybe things are different. But the numbers that you guys put up offensively make me super jealous and blow my mind. That's not a world that Fordham can live in. So this game needs to be slower. It needs to be fewer possessions, and it needs to be then copy and paste a lot of things from Bonaventure, at least even in the rebound category, and they need to protect the basketball. Single-digit turnovers, I believe, on Saturday. That's a number they have to try to do again against St. Louis to have any kind of success.
Mm-hmm. I'm gonna need you to settle down because we can't have a medical emergency on the podcast. That might be good for numbers, actually. You know what?
It might be. You want me to pass out or faint?
Yeah, work. Go ahead. Knock yourself out.
I'm not. Listen, I've always been a Fordham fan. I believe wholeheartedly that there is, and we saw it for 1 year, that there is a combination of factors that can make this a program that is a pain in the butt for other A-10 teams on a regular basis. But when I go to your KenPom page and I see all of these single-digit or even 2-digit numbers and rankings at KenPom and other places, it makes me very jealous because if I was to coach a team, that's where I'd want to be. I would want to be high flying. I want efficiency. I want points. I want to be outscoring my opponent by 25 like you guys are. Like that's an impressive number to me.
You know what? I'm curious. You mentioned how big of a Fordham fan you are, and I'm curious. You get a chance to kind of work on a show with the head coach of Fordham. What is that like for you? And, what have you gotten to, what is it like, you've gotten to know Mike, talk about kind of him as a person and him as a coach.
Yeah. Mike's a super good guy. He really just is. He kind of, he doesn't feel like those kind of slimy, college coaches you kind of run into sometimes. It's a genuine guy. He runs a program right now. And again, this has only been he was hired in April. So we're only in 9 months now. But we talked on the podcast one time about his assistants. A lot of them came with him from UC Riverside or had worked with him other places and came back to work with him here at Fordham. They're all kind of in the same age bracket. They're all married or dating in serious relationships. There's kids running around the gym and their dads, their dad's name is on the back. They're the coach's staff. It's a very family forward operation. And I don't mean to make light of the situation, but I even pointed this out to Mike too. One of his UC Riverside players tragically passed away recently. He had cancer. And seeing the response through Mike's social media and talking to Mike about dealing with that and losing a player and watching the UC Riverside team and community and former players kind of come together and support all of themselves in this terrible tragedy. Like you don't point to that. You don't want that, but it showed me what Mike can build and the connection he can build with current players, with former players. And I'm a big chemistry guy. I think that matters. I think chemistry, can make a good team great. It can make a great team elite. And also without chemistry, it can ruin everything. So it feels like Mike and his staff know how to build a team, to use a cheesy word in air quotes, which is important because, Fordham financially, unless they find, new sources of big time money, they can't live in a world year to year and spend like St. Louis and VCU and Dayton atop the A10 every single year. So they need every other advantage possible. And maybe that kind of chemistry, that kind of family foundation makes some kind of difference with talented kids on the roster who maybe have some carryover from year to year. My brain works in numbers to a certain extent. So when we get to the court and there's, you're telling me probability and odds, and this is, this number means that, like that computes in my head too. It doesn't always work out correctly in reality on the court. But I would, this is the way I would I would think about the game too, if I was in a similar situation. And then seeing it in practice on Saturday, that feels like it could be. The next game matters. The next handful of games matter. And maybe there is no follow-up to winning at Bonaventure on Saturday. But, maybe that there is. Maybe that's the first significant turning point in them really kind of cementing what they're trying to accomplish here.
Would you say that his team this year plays like his UC Riverside teams did, or has he kind of adjusted based on the personnel that you got to put together in year one?
Yeah, I think it would be unfair to go too far in like a direct comparison like that because the calendar was kind of not in his favor by the time they did. They played it. An entire week went by between their season ending and them deciding to fire Keith Urgo. And then it took probably a little longer to get to land on Mike to be the head coach. And then there was a lot of, the normal red tape and jumping through hoops and whatever to get a staff and get moving. So, and there was an NCAA investigation and there were infractions and there were limitations on visits and whatnot and recruiting in this last cycle. So
ridiculous, by the way.
Would you like to get on your soapbox? Because that could be fun.
We could certainly talk about that, but I just, I don't think Mike and his staff had the time and to fully put together the kind of staff, the kind of roster that they want. So that's more of a question for next year. But even like little things like, he's always had big guards, and he doesn't really have big guards right now. Like Day Reeves is tiny, relatively speaking, to some other guys that he has to defend or who defend him. Christian Henry's got a little size to him. He's more in line with the way Mike's body-wise point guards play. But they want to be big. Some of the size he brought with him from Riverside. So there is that easy. You're going to see Whitborn. You're going to see Rika Schulte. You might see Abbas Bodija on Wednesday. Those three guys were with him at UC Riverside. So he wanted them there, and they brought them to the Bronx. And Rora Core fits into that mold to a certain extent as well.
Do you, watching this season, knowing him, talking to him on the podcast and everything like that, and knowing that he got hired a little bit late in the cycle, right? Like you've explained, what would your expectations be for next season for Mike and for Fordham?
Yeah, I mean, I that's obviously a little bit of an impossible question to answer because you can't assume that anybody comes back next year. So, like, what does this team look like? But I will say this: he's recruited a heck of a player. Hassan Qureshi you guys might not know the high school.
No, yeah, we offered him.
Okay.
He's a good player.
He's a good player. He also is coming from a big-time high school program, Stepanak, here in New York City. I think he's like one of 7 Division I players. The Ratliff twins are going to USC. They're Theo Ratliff's kids. They're a pair of 7-footers. I mean, that they're a mini college program.
Josiah Jervis going to Michigan State.
Exactly.
I think. Yeah.
Right. So Hassan is the kind of the point guard of that operation, and he is, fingers crossed, he's the point guard of the future in the Bronx. And that future might be game 1 of next season, because Day Reeves graduates for sure. Christian Henry is one of those players who's got JUCO in his background. So I think that there is, is there a way that he plays next year? I don't know that, but like, it's not, the door is not 100% closed to that. And then you get to Whitbourne and Schulte and Rorikor, the other guys we've been mentioning, who all have multiple years of eligibility left, but you just don't know what's going to happen, right? When the year is over, you don't know who's going to come calling. You don't know what offer is going to come flooding in that maybe you can't match, maybe you don't want to match. I don't know. But Hassan seems very legit, and Whitbourne and Schulte seem pretty legit as 2 big anchors down low, and more than one person has told us that Rorikor is a legit pro prospect, but he's a baby. Looks sometimes, like a newborn deer, doesn't know how his arms and his legs work, but he's a fearless dude, plays above the rim, blocks shots. So you can see what might be possible, especially if they hit on 1 or 2 like grown-ups in the portal that next time around the cycle.
If Fordham is going to shock the conference and maybe the nation on Wednesday, God forbid, God forbid, what does that look like from a Fordham standpoint?
Well, it looks like their best offensive game of the season, right? Like, I don't know. I can't imagine that they could, slow the game down enough, play defense for 40 minutes against all of your individual talent, and Josh's mind and the creativity. Could they grind a game down to the 50s? What's the fewest points you guys have scored this year? So, I mean, to me, it takes Fordham getting hot, everybody knocking down threes, double-digit threes, not missing a free throw, limited turnovers, and having simultaneously their best offensive and defensive performance this season, especially on the road, especially playing there. Now that they're going to be feeling good, I guess. They did have to go back to campus after this game Saturday. I was wondering if they'd make it a super long trip, but actually classes restarted either today or tomorrow. So they did go back to campus after Saturday. So maybe they're going to be annoyed by already having some kind of homework to do or whatever. But it's going to take a lot. This is still a young group and an inexperienced group playing together. They're also not fully healthy. It would obviously be beneficial for anybody to show up in your gym with their full complement of players, which I don't think they will. Whether it's 1 or 2 guys coming back, the 3 guys who are out right now, I don't know if all of them will be healthy in time to play this game on Wednesday.
So to answer your question, it is 71. We scored 71 twice against VCU and Santa Clara.
Right.
But those were both wins.
Yes. So I mean, like, can they win somehow outshoot you 74-71? I mean, that's the way. I don't say this as a knock on them. I don't know that they can get 80 again on the road in a place like yours coming off of Bonaventure. I know they just did it, but obviously there seems to be a gap between the Bonnies and you guys right now. So it would be asking, this is a heck of a double, and it'd be asking a lot from them to pull it off. But they're going to give you something funky, and it does seem like it takes a while to figure out how to play them. Richmond, Mason, and Bonaventure were all close at halftime. And then Richmond and Mason figured things out a little bit. Fordham went cold on offense, and they got their wins. Even Bonaventure, I mean, Fordham was up 11, and then they went on like a 23-4 run. And I thought this is going to be the same. It's the same kind of pathway to a disappointing loss, but Fordham recovered and made the plays they needed to get that win. So it does. I wouldn't be surprised if this game is too close for your comfort at halftime. What's the second half, how that plays out is going to be what is really, we kind of have to wait for and see.
If there is, we obviously know about DeJour Reeves. He's capable of going off, but if there's another player that could be the guy that, who is this no-name guy that's killing us right now? Who's it going to be? Who's the Billiken killer?
Yeah, that's a good question. That can go back to the previous one too. I'll give you two names: Marcus Green, Louis Lesmond. Those are two graduate student players. One from Hawaii, one from Harvard. If one of them was to catch fire and knock down like 3 or 4 threes, that changes the dynamic of the offense. Those are bonus points. And again, when you're the underdog on the road at a really good team, you do need something kind of unforeseen to happen. And one of those guys getting hot and putting a bunch of points on the board in a short amount of time, that would obviously be very helpful for Fordham.
Is it really Lesmond?
I asked him at the beginning of the year at like a tip-off dinner. I said to him, I was like, I'm one of the people that needs to say your name into a microphone this year. How French do you want us to get? And he actually said, you can just say Lesmond. And that's how it's spelled, Lesmond. Wow. And we said, absolutely not. We're not missing it. We're not passing up a chance to even pretend to be French. So we landed on Louis Lesmond. Now, you could go if you want. I mean, Lesmond is probably like the real French. Like if he's walking through Paris, that's the way it's being said. But we don't go that far. We're also, he's not from Peoria, Illinois, so he can't be Louis Lesmond.
Well, he's also not the great American cyclist. So he can't be Le Mans.
He's not Greg LeMond either.
He can't be Le Mans.
Yeah,
that's what I thought it would be. You guys have a lot of international flavor on the roster, right? There's 4 who played in Australia, although I guess one of those is Japanese. You've got Germany, you've got France here. I mean, this is do you think the international recruiting strategy is going to be more fruitful for Fordham, just given the NIL realities of North American players, or do you feel like that's just kind of Meg Pio coming from the West Coast, having had international teams before?
Yes to both. I think, Mike in particular is plugged into kind of that Australia, New Zealand circuit, so to speak. And he's always had kids from that part of the world. It's not an accident that there's that many guys who played there that are on this team right now. And I would expect him to go back to that well whenever it makes sense to him. And then I think also just internationally, Fordham does have appeal to those type of players because it is New York City. If you're coming from Europe, that's not a terrible flight for your family to come see you play on occasion, whatever. And again, this is always going to come down now to what the money signs said, what the dollar signs say. But that is where Fordham does have success, and it's also where the other sports that non-basketball, whether it's all of a sudden Fordham is nationally good at water polo because all of these European players want to come get their MBA at a very good Fordham business school in New York City, get internships in Manhattan after they play. That's where it matters. And soccer has a similar success and a similar roster build. So I would not be surprised if basketball has similar success, except that, the truly elite players, the ones who are out there who are demanding money and getting it from multiple places, that still might always be a hard sell. But if you're talking about a similar kid that's from America or from Germany, the German kid actually might be more enticed to come play in New York City and experience the city and all that's to offer on top of the campus than maybe somebody coming from a different part of the U.S.
Sure. So we're going to put you on the spot now. What is your prediction for this game on Wednesday?
Oh, I have to do a prediction. Man,
just quick predict.
We're not going to put it in writing or anything like that.
Yeah. I don't even know. Do you guys know what the line on this game is? Is there even a line this early ahead of time? Like 80-65 feels in the general area to me. That might be a little too close for your guys' comfort. And maybe that is just Fordham scoring some baskets late with the game out of hand. I don't mean to be to diss my guys at all here. I'm just really impressed by your operation. Saw you guys in person on campus last year. Some of the numbers, the wins you already have this year, it's just super impressive. And if we're having this conversation a year from now, and I might feel a little bit different. This just feels early for me, especially coming off the Bonaventure game. I don't know if that's good or bad coming off a win like that. I don't know if letdown is not the right word. But I know they desperately needed a win, and they got that win. And now to ramp back up for another big-time test and a big-time arena, it's asking a lot of still a relatively young team. But Mike's teams, he's mentioned this, and he should. UC Riverside won a lot of bye games, and this is not a bye game, but he won games in big arenas against P4 schools at UC Riverside because they have smart game plans. They can be tricky, they can be creative. So I don't think in any way this is going to be easy. But I just think the talent disparity right now might be too significant to overcome at the moment.
For what it's worth, SLU leads the all-time series 16-5, but you guys have won 2 out of the last 3, and that includes the season where you were great, right? That 25-win season where we lost up at your place.
And I was trying to remember the date of that game because I remember Travis talking about afterwards how they were not prepared for the atmosphere in the gym because
correct. January 31st.
Okay, so
wait,
that was
Travis Ford wasn't prepared. Holy shit!
Yeah, you guys beat
I
us
said
the
that
next
name
season.
very delicately.
You guys won in St. Louis for the first time in 2024, and by that point we had gone off the rails completely.
Right.
But that game, So he said he wasn't prepared for the crowd. But what I wasn't prepared for, I was watching that game thinking like, whoa, when did Fordham get this athletic? I was genuinely jealous of the athleticism I saw in that game.
That team was legit. That team really was. I know it was easy for the A10 and fans to not buy in because why should they? It was easy to dunk on Fordham when they didn't follow up on that. But that team was legitimate, and the A10 quarters and semifinals in Barclays Center, there was a lot of maroon in that gym. And I didn't think it was possible to get that kind of turnout, but they did. And that semifinal game with Dayton was a winnable game deep into the second half. Like in the final minutes, there was a play that might have been goaltending, wasn't goaltending, that would have changed the way that game played out. They were very close to playing for the A10 title that year. Now, unfortunately for the program, that season ends up being kind of like in a silo by itself because they just couldn't follow up the year after. And then last year didn't go well either. And then they make a coaching change and it feels very far away. But that year was legit. Obviously, it took some other teams maybe having some down years. But the gym that was amazing. And that's the goal now, is to kind of recreate that, whether it's later this year or next year. But that's the plan, is to make that place as hard. It was very hard to play there in January and February of that winter, and that's what they're trying to redo here again now.
It's that little bandbox from Hoosiers when it really gets rowdy in there. And it's not easy. Traffic sucks. The locker rooms are far away. You got to walk down a long. It makes you angry to play there, and sometimes that becomes a positive, and it gets teams going, and they want to win, and they beat you down. Other times, if you're good, you can make all that bad feeling kind of snowball, and then they just want to get out of town as fast as possible. Who's your favorite famous Fordham alum?
We have a lot of random ones.
I know. I'm a random person.
You've got a fun list.
And there are, we also, for some reason, a lot of those people on this list didn't finish Fordham. Captain Kangaroo is on the list. I don't know that he actually has a degree. Alan Alda, I think, went to Fordham for a little bit. Yeah. The president went to Fordham, I think, for a second. He didn't last for the full 4 years.
I don't think he lasted it 6 months, but okay.
Right. So there's a lot going on here. But Captain Kangaroo makes me laugh still. The fact that Captain Kangaroo went anywhere for college. I feel like that's a reference that's only got a few more days left, right? Not many people are going to understand who Captain Kangaroo was in a while.
So where can our listeners find your work and follow you on social media?
Nice and easy on Twitter at Andrew Bogusch. Of course, the Mike Magpayo show, the Fordham Basketball Podcast, is on all the places where you can find podcasts. Now the last one was probably 10 days ago, so it's a little outdated at this point. But there should be another one coming up here in a little bit. And of course, next time that you guys play in the Bronx, which should be next season, right? You guys won't come here this year, I don't think.
Right, this is a one-off.
Right. You'll probably hear my voice in some form or fashion on an ESPN or an SNY broadcast.
Are you more so or less so harsh with the regional broadcasts that you get when watching the A10?
I think that most of us on the broadcast now went to Fordham and worked at WFUV radio, and I think we were trained to be as close to down the middle as possible.
Well, no, I meant when you watch, like, if you like you're doing the broadcast, but if you watch like Fordham on the road and like it's like some like student workers, and you're just like,
oh well, no, if it's a student, you get all my sympathy. But I would there are a couple of broadcasts that like not Fordham specific, but they're very pro their school. Like the guys at GW, Byron Kerr and Jimmy Patsos, and I've talked to both of them, but I mean they might as well have jerseys on. They're a fun listen because they are living and dying with the game, and if things are going well, they're the best. But I love when guys like that. And I don't wish them bad things, but football guys are like this too. When a team is losing, they're just like 10-5 touchdown. Like that makes me laugh. Like that to me is good TV. That's not how we go about our business. We're trying to be as balanced as possible and as fair as possible. But man, the guys that are yelling and screaming from the beginning, I don't have it in me, but I love watching it.
It's like the end of that the Iron Bowl, where you had the two different radio broadcasts.
Right. Yes.
And so
yeah, like if somebody on the other team it's a winning shot, we want it to sound like it's a winning shot, not that we're all heartbroken and we're going to go home crying. Other places, might flip the table when that happens, and that's just the way they do it. And that's one of the cool things about this league, right? We've got north, south, east, west. You've got older guys who've been doing games. The guys in Richmond have been doing those games for forever. This is year 10 for us doing these games streaming. So, there's veterans, there's newbies, there's people just out of school. There are guys who are looking at retirement. It's different styles of broadcasting, different parts of the country. So it even just sounds differently. I know I've always loved this league. It's a fun league. It's a big league. It's a competitive league, and the broadcasts are just like the teams. They're unique. They're crazy. I don't know what but it's good. It's certainly good TV.
Andrew, thank you so much for popping in and bringing us just crucial insights on Fordham in general this year, and relative to where we're at.
And we didn't do the NCAA investigation. We touched on it for a second and then we ran away.
I'm easily distracted.
Next time.
Yeah,
we'll do that. We'll do it over the summer. We'll do that. Can be your
dude. I'm in for that.
That's a 10 30 for 30.
Yes, I love it. Thanks for joining us, man. You have a good one. Enjoy Wednesday, hopefully. Not too
guys.
Much
thanks
time.
for having me. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Andrew.
So, Billiken fans, now we have on Griffin Wright to preview the Richmond game on Saturday at Chaffetz. He covers Richmond for A10 Talk. He's a Richmond native, lifelong Spiders fan who currently attends High Point University, where he calls the games for the Panthers. Griffin, thanks for joining the Midtown Madness podcast.
Yeah, man. Thank you for having me. I've recently got into your guys' stuff, so you guys do great work over here. So I'm happy to be on.
Hey, thanks, man. I appreciate that. Did you know there's a piece of Billiken lore where there's a game we played at Richmond, and there's a guy that's sitting in the caddy corner type area, and he's filming the game and he's doing commentary on the game. Mm-hmm. And the meme is he keeps calling them the spotters. He has this Southern accent.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen this guy's old videos?
I think I know exactly who you're talking about, because my granddad used to follow him a lot, and he used to tell me, he was like, "Hey, listen, this guy knows his stuff." So I think I know who you're talking about.
That's funny.
So how exactly was it that you ended up being interviewed on Good Morning America this past year? How did that come together?
Yeah, so like Zach said, I'm a broadcaster for High Point, so we traveled to the Big South tournament, which is in Johnson City, Tennessee, and so me and one of my best friends, who's a play-by-play, I'm an analysis guy. We booked our own hotel or our Airbnb. He's yet to pay me back for it, but and yeah, gotta get him on that. But we just booked our own, traveled there with one of my other best friends, and we just called a game. And I think that season for High Point, I was like, oh, we have a chance to go to March Madness, and High Point's never done that. So there's always a lot of passion. Like the same with the Spiders, I got so much passion for them. That's it's pros and cons, and so. We were in the championship game. We're down by 15 minutes remaining. It's just like it's all High Point fans. Just silent, just like, and High Point just makes a ridiculous comeback led by Bobby Pettiford, who's a national champion with Kansas. Mm-hmm. And I just lose my mind. I'm fake screaming. I'm holding my bet boy Jimmy. I'm ripping his jacket. And I was like, yeah, we should do that like an Instagram live. One of the comments said, I'm just watching for the reaction. So I was like, let me just post this on TikTok. And then TikTok blew up. I got a bunch of coverage. High Point obviously loved it. And they got me and Jimmy traveling with the team to March Madness. So we got to do all that. And I think when we were there, Andrew Catalan was calling the game, and he said they want to do like a little segment about us. And so for 30 seconds of the game, they clipped to us. And I think that's when the people at Good Morning America saw it. So it was a cool story. And the funny thing about Good Morning America is I didn't know we were on Good Morning America until they were right in front of my face. So if you watch back, I'm like sitting there with my suit on, and they come on, and I literally go like this, like they cuts to me, and I'm like just all in awe. And so my mom's like, "What are you doing? This is your one time on national TV, and this is the reaction you get." I was like, it's valid. I was viral for being myself, so that's myself. But yeah, it was a cool story, and I was very blessed for that opportunity, and I hope that High Point can do it again.
Yeah, it was funny because you came recommended, right? Like we were like, okay, who should we reach out to for Richmond? The guy we had a couple of years ago has kind of moved on. He's like in law school doing different stuff. So when we were given your name, I Googled your name, and I Googled your name in High Point, and then I was like, wait a minute, and I watched it, and I was like, oh my God, I remember this. Like I'm one of these. I'm old. I'm not on TikTok, but it was one of those things that got beyond TikTok, and and during March Madness, it was like I remember the High Point guys going crazy. This was awesome. Yeah. And you're right. It was a genuine moment. They caught a genuine moment, and I'm glad you guys were able to kind of take that momentum and run with it.
Yeah, me too, man. Me too.
So how did you kind of get into? So I guess Richmond athletics. How did you kind of get into it, and being so heavily involved with High Point? How has that shifted your loyalties at all? Because I'm a Billiken fan. I grew up a Billiken fan. I ended up at SLU, but if I went to another school, I don't think I could shift loyalties at all.
Yeah. Luckily for me, High Point's not even close to the A10 yet. So it's there's levels to this. But I grew up in Richmond, obviously. My parents went to Richmond. My grandparents went to Richmond. My uncles, all my whole family went to Richmond. So we had season tickets since I was 10. It's funny, actually, I was going to come on here. One of my earliest memories as a Richmond fan was a game against St. Louis, with your cool old logo with the Billiken. And I remember being like, what is a Billiken? And I remember watching this one guy, Jordair Jet.
Yes.
And I remember him being just an absolute dog. I think this was 14 or 15, so he won the A10 Player of the Year that year. And 14, I just remember being like, oh my God, this guy is so much fun to watch. And that kind of got me into the A10. So I just loved the A10. I covered Richmond, and being in Richmond, that was the Shaka Smart era. So you would have, everybody was a VCU fan. So I like to be different, and I like to be the guy to trash talk. That's the type of person I am. So, it made me more loyal. And then coming to High Point, honestly, it's easy, man. I watch every Richmond game still. I still make time for it. But I think it's just I think Richmond is just I'm a fan of Richmond. I'm High Point in the most selfish way possible. it's just like, if they go to March Madness, I know that I can go to March Madness, right? So it's like, I cheer for them for my success, where Richmond is like, I'm cheering for them for their success. I guess if that makes a little more sense. So I think that's where my loyalty kind of lies.
Yeah, for sure. So I got to be honest, coming into this season, I didn't think Richmond had really done much of anything notable in the offseason. And I thought, I think Zach mostly agreed with me too. I thought that 10 when I don't want to speak for both of us, but they were number 10 in the preseason poll, right, in the A10. And I kind of thought, I don't know if I see 5 teams below them this year, but it appears that I may have been a little too harsh on the Spiders. They've been pretty competitive. They had a decent non-conference. I think there's probably a couple of games you'd like to have back, but are they outperforming your expectations for the season, or was it just me who may have been a little too low on them?
So I'm a realist. So like when I look at, our offseason recruiting, I'm very like real. So Jaden Daughtry is a great example. He's from Indiana State. He's from Richmond. I actually played Jaden Daughtry when I was in high school, and Jaden's coming in. I'm like, man, I don't really know if that's a right pickup. Like, you think about Chris Mooney ball, does he fit the system? You think about Will Johnson, AJ Lopez. Like, all right, do you guys fit the system? So yeah, I don't think you were hard on him. I do remember watching that preseason rankings and be like, that's a little low in my opinion. I think we're always like in that middle pack where we're 6 and 8. Like, that's usually where I kind of rank us. But no, you're kind of completely right on that part. They definitely have been a lot better than I thought. I think the team's coming together a lot better as of late. But there's just some games, man, that you just watch and you're like, this makes sense. It's a bunch of guys who haven't played together yet. But that's kind of the system in the NCAA. That's kind of what you expect from college teams. So I guess in a way, like, coming from, you have the Jacob Gilliards who were there 4 years, and now you have AJ Lopez who's gone next year, right? We had Jordan King a couple years ago who's gone next year. So I think it's harder for me to be like, how good are we actually when, these guys come from different conferences and different areas and different situations. It's like, how can we play such a different brand of basketball that I think it's fair to rank us in the preseason a little low, but I'm very happy, we're 12-5, so I can't really complain too much. But yeah.
I think that's interesting that you bring up kind of how the Gilliards and the 4-year guys. And one thing that may be overlooked is they may not have that experience together, but you have a crap ton of seniors on this.
Yeah.
You have 4 of the top 6 guys are seniors, and all but one of the top 10 is a junior or a senior. So I think, do you think that perhaps still, like, having older guys is more of a Mooney thing?
Yeah. Oh, for sure. I think what he does, and I was talking to, I worked for a radio show over the summer, and I was like, Mooney looks for experience. Like, I think experience is very important in college basketball, but I think chemistry and experience go well. And once you have chemistry and experience together, that's what makes, an A10 champion contender. So I worry sometimes when it comes to Mooney that he's looking for so much experience that he can't build that chemistry with the freshmen and the sophomores. I figured, like, we bring in these freshmen that have a lot of hype, and they don't see playing time, and then you can't get chemistry with those guys. So I think you're right. I think there is something with Mooney where he loves the experience, but I think in a way, it's worked for him for maybe a couple years. But to get to that next stop or next area where we want to be in, which is where St. Louis is right now, I think the chemistry has to be, and that's just a locker room thing, and that's just getting locker room guys, and it's new for everybody. So I don't want to put too much blame on Mooney for that.
It's funny if our Twitter account, it's like all A10 basketball, college basketball. If you just looked at our Twitter feed and everything you knew about Richmond came from that, you'd think Michael Waltz was by far the top scorer. But he's only 5th. What makes him like that guy who gets all the attention? What makes him such that key player, even though he's not the guy on paper who's like carrying the scoring load?
I think he's a 4-year guy, so he understands the system a lot better than these other players. He's also a different big that Richmond has. So, we're used to having like these big guys. We had Neil Quinn and Grant Golden, who were great passers, great, let's finish towards the rim. Not saying Mike can't finish, but he's a great, he does turnaround jumpers. He's dribbling, and then he's taking shots at the top of the key from deep. He was 4 for 4 against Fordham from downtown. We've never had a big like that. So I honestly think being that 4-year guy, but then also just not being a normal big that Richmond's had. We're like, well, when Mike Walls plays good, Richmond plays good. So, and it's unfortunate because I believe Mike Walls can be, an all A10 player. I don't know if he's at that level right now. But when he plays good, you can see how good the other players play around him. So I think in that sense, when you see Mike Walls, you're like, God, this guy's nice. It's like he's good. Don't get me wrong, but when he has his off games, Richmond has his off games, and when he has his on games, Richmond has his on games. So it's just all over the place.
He got kind of the broadcaster on the game today. Was it today?
Yeah.
Just kind of went in on him for not shooting at the buzzer. I've never heard an announcer just straight up like, that's terrible from that player. Like, unless you hit somebody with your fist. Yeah. Like, that's the only times I couldn't believe how much like flack he got for that.
It was unfair. It was unfair because, and that's, put that broadcaster in that situation. Let's see what he does. You know what I mean? Like, I think Mike doesn't deserve that. I think the play call at the end of the game is definitely a little questionable. Obviously you would like him to shoot it, but like, come on, dude, like you can't give him too much blame for that. We really should have, as a team, did not play good today. So you can't keep that on Mike.
If it was a golf ball, he would have put it in, I bet.
He's not. Oh my God, he's nasty. Scratch golfer. I just played golf today, and I literally probably lost like 8 balls in the water. It was bad.
So it's a pretty balanced attack scoring wise between Lopez, Daughtry, Johnson, and Argerbright. Am I saying his name right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So is it a situation where any one of them can be the guy on a given night? Does it tend to stay pretty balanced from game to game, or are there kind of trends emerging, like one or two of those guys becoming more important as the season goes on?
Yeah, so in the beginning of the year, I had the same question. It was like, who was going to be the guy that stepped up? Who was going to be our offense? Because we've always had, that guy who's going to score. Last year we didn't. That's why we were so bad. But, in the years before, we've had the guy. He's like, all right, this guy's going to go off. And then who's going to come around? That's usually who's going to support our top guy. Now, who's our top guy? And I think it's a good problem to have. I think it's cool to see Will Johnson go for 24, and then AJ go for 20, and then Argerbright being our leader scorer today. But then it looks like, well, if those guys are off, who's on? So it's kind of like, and now I think Will Johnson and AJ are starting to get into form. Aiden Argerbright, obviously, I think he's in talks for A10 freshman of the year. He's been big. So it's just like, and Jaden, obviously, and I think Jaden's our most consistent player. So I think it's kind of a balanced scoring base. And I think that's what makes us dangerous in a way, because, when you're looking at the film, it's like, okay, well, who do we guard? Everyone's, when you're looking at film, you're like, all right, this guy, we press up on this guy, but when you're pressing up on this guy, it leaves this guy open, right? So I think in a way the balanced scoring is helping us a little bit, but it's like, I need one more person to step up, and that could be one of those leading scorers, is to go from 12 to 15, and that changes the game. But yeah, like you said, I think it's the balanced scoring base, and I'm okay with it for now. But when it comes to closer to March, I would like to know, like, all right, who's our guy?
Chris Mooney has been at Richmond since 2005.
Yeah.
What makes him so, just synonymous with Richmond basketball? Obviously, you had the Fire Mooney Mafia, whatever happened to them. Yeah. What kind of makes him so tailored to Richmond as a school? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, for sure. Honestly, like I've talked to Chris Mooney a lot. It's the person who he is. I don't know if that really makes sense. It's like I wish I could give you like a cool description of what he is to that school. Like for me, I was born in 2003, so basically my entire life he's been my coach, and he's made memories for me as a kid, like I'll never forget. And so I think it's like, we've had good coaches in the past, but what Mooney does as a leader and as for the community, I mean, his kids go to Richmond to collegiate, which is right down the road. And, when I used to play collegiate, he'd be in the stands and he gets his players, who don't travel for, basketball later on in their future, he gets some jobs, like he cares. So I think it's like having a person in charge that, is going to push you to be better. And then also show you that, he's there for you, and he's been there for the Richmond community. So like you said, those billboards really struck my nerve because I didn't think he deserved it. I think what he's done for Richmond basketball, it's been, he's, obviously a Hall of Famer in Richmond's book. He's going to be in the Raptors forever. So like you said, I think the love that he gets from Richmond is honestly, it's not enough for what he's done for the school, really.
He also seems to be a master of timing, right? Like the seasons where they go to the NCAA tournament or whatever also always seem to be like right when he needs that. I don't mean that like as a knock.
You're right. Like, no, you're right.
But like that 11-12 season, they were 500. Before that, they were just kind of like generally winning records, but not great. Like they came off those back-to-back 20-loss seasons, and then he wins 22 games, right? Like, yeah. So then after that long kind of stretch where they're 500-ish, then he goes to back-to-back NCAA tournaments. Yeah. And so it's kind of amazing to me how he always seems to be really sharp with his timing for whatever it's worth. I may have put some of that backwards too. Like they went back to back and then were kind of down for a while. And then, after the 20 loss seasons, then he goes 24-7, right? Then you have the pandemic, which kind of buys him a year. And then he goes back to the tournament. So it's just kind of amazing to me how he's always done that. It also occurred to me as we were kind of getting ready for this, we've played Richmond 25 times ever. The series is 14-11 in SLU's favor. We never played them before we entered the A10, which was right around the time Chris Mooney took the job. So we've never played anyone but Chris Mooney at Richmond, which is pretty weird to play 25 games in 2 decades, and it's all against the same coach.
And especially in the life that we live in, like the NIL and the NCAA. Yeah, like it's weird to have a coach, and I think that's why. Like I have so much respect for him because he stayed. I don't know, obviously, if he's had any, other job offers. And if he had, I think, like you were saying, the inconsistency of it, and like I think for Richmond fans, it stresses them out. Right, you got 2 losing seasons, and then you win 20 plus games. It's like how much longer can you take? And it's like, dude, I'll take a 25 win season, go to the tournament, win a game, and then for 2 years we're building to go back. Like I'll take that. As a mid-major, like I take that, especially where the program's at. It's like people who said like, and I guess like this is a question for you guys too. It's like when it comes to like the job opportunities at Richmond, it's like, all right, we fire Mooney. How good is a Richmond coaching job? Like like who's really like, yeah, this is where I want to go. Like I said, when you look at the VCUs, it's like. VCU is the JMU of college basketball. It's like that's a stepping stone, right? That's for coaches who are like, this is if I succeed at VCU, I'm gonna get something else. I'm gonna get something bigger. And when you have Chris Mooney who's been there for 18 years, I think some coaches are gonna be like, well, like I don't know if I want to stay at Richmond for 18 years. I don't know if I want to, I want to go to Richmond. I want to go somewhere bigger. And so, it's like we fire Mooney, okay, but now where do we go? Who's gonna come here and make us better than we were? So I think I don't think a lot of Richmond fans like really think about like what would we do if Mooney wasn't here, and people would be like, "Oh, we'd be better." How do you know that? You know what I mean? Like, who's going to come to? And maybe somebody will come to Richmond. I might be wrong. I hope I am, because there will be a day when Mooney is not coaching us, and when that day comes, I'm gonna be like, guys, just be prepared to maybe not like your coach. Like, be prepared. So, like you guys said, like I don't, and this could be like, where does Richmond rank in the A10 jobs? Like I would put St. Louis over Richmond any day. I put Dayton, the VCUs, even maybe what St. Bonaventure's building. Like I know they're probably not the best team this year, but they just got Woj as their general manager, right? And like I think they're probably at the same level as Davidson, maybe George Mason. So it's like I don't know where I would rank them.
I think with it's interesting because you look at schools like St. Louis and I'm trying to think like, Iowa kind of like they've looked at coaches that have come from programs that have had less support. Mm-hmm. So like Josh Schertz came from essentially a Salle of the MVC where he built that up. McCollum was at Division II, obviously. Like we're looking for guys that not I say we, but like I feel like programs in our level are looking for guys that can do more with less when you give them more.
Yeah.
And I think Richmond would have that if it could make themselves a stepping stone. We've always said we'd be happy to be a stepping stone. We'd love to be VCU. So like, I think if you can place yourself in that where you're finding the next up and comer, or, you know, like get in early. So I think Richmond, every job has the potential to be a great job, depending on what is put into it by administration.
But there definitely is in our league. There's a real stratification in terms of like, where are the resources and how are they being committed? I would put Richmond in the top half, to be perfectly honest. Maybe I have a bit of a soft spot because I was like this close to going there out of high school. I chose SLU at the last minute because I couldn't turn down the scholarship. Yeah. But so I have a little bit of a soft spot, but it's a really nice place. And like talking to you, like it's a very reasonable, generally, fan base. You know, I don't know about the Fire Mooney Mafia, but like it's the kind of place where you are going to get a couple of years of grace after making a tournament or just taking the job or that kind of thing. And it's a school that's you know, it's a well endowed place. You know, there's kind of a like we just talked to the VCU guy last week who said wine and cheese, but like it's people who are willing to commit resources to a place that they really care about. And I think that is truer there than of a lot of the other A10 schools. So I'd put it in the top half. I do think that Dayton,
you guys play in an actual arena too.
Yeah,
like you host concerts.
It's a nice gym. Yeah.
I couldn't believe, like I looked up VCU's Caffeinasium, and they don't have a website for the actual facility. Which is insane to me. Anyway, Pete,
so I think there's like the Dayton and SLU job. Obviously, VCU has been a really successful model, you know, for them. As Zach said, it's way better than what we had. We had 2 bad hires in a row, one of who got multiple extensions. That's a lot more expensive and costly and hard to build back from than being the school who keeps making the right hire and those guys keep leaving. I'll take that any day because that's a lot more, lucrative and sustainable in the long run. So yeah, I think Richmond is still a pretty good job. And I think Mooney has proven that out.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's funny that you mentioned that because obviously being from Richmond and my family goes to Richmond, you make a lot of connections, in the Richmond area and especially in the athletic program. And, I've talked to a lot of people. I was just on a Zoom call, I think 3 weeks ago with the associate AD. And so from my understanding, the University of Richmond is looking to be more of like an Ivy League school or academics. And
right.
So I worry that, and obviously as a Spider fan, like I don't go to Richmond. So like the academics don't involve me. So I'm like selfish. I'm like, screw those guys. Like let's win some basketball games, and like, so I think it's like you go from a program who, in football, we won the national championship in 2008 at the FCS level. And then at the same time, you had like 2 years later, Richmond was making a Sweet 16 run. And so it's like that's that school that I grew up watching, and like, that's what we can be. And so when you have an administration who wants to be more academics, which, whatever, fine by me, whatever, you do whatever you want. That's what, like, you're right. Like, I think like, when you look at Richmond, it's like, yeah, I agree. I think when thinking about it, it's like, yeah, when you look at everybody in the A10, it's not, LaSalle or Fordham. No hate to them, but Richmond looks better. But then it's like when you get there, you got to have the right person. You got to have the right person. You got to have the right person who can build. And I think I can trust our AD and the guys behind the scene to find that right person. I just think it's a big leap for when we have a guy who has clearly had success at Richmond and clearly wants to have success at Richmond.
Yeah.
Speaking of success at Richmond, SLU has a history of having an unexpected player have a career night against us. And let's say someone has that sort of success on Saturday. Who would be a player that Billiken fans aren't looking at that could step up and just drop bombs on us?
Oh man. Yeah. So this year, I will say out of every year we've had it, like you've kind of like, I remember the Jordan King year where you guys, we went to St. Louis and I I think he had like 30 or something like that.
That was a snow game. It was terrible weather here, and nobody showed up. Mm-hmm. And it was
that helped. I know that place rocks.
Thanks for reminding me.
You're welcome. Listen. We're reviewing this game, and before that game happens, I'm gonna have a little belief that we can do something. So I got to remind you. 2 years ago we had a guy who dropped 30. But this year we might have a guy who drops 10. But I think the guy who I would say I would look out for is Will Johnson, especially. I was just looking at the stats actually, and I was like, all right, where's the weakness in this team? And I think you guys lead in every category except for turnover margin. Mm-hmm. And so I'm like, well, that doesn't help, right? And so I would say like Will Johnson's a guy that if he catches fire and, St. Louis may be a little lazy on the defensive side that night, which I hope so. I hope you guys just, we'll give it to you guys today. You got one loss. What's two? So I would say Will Johnson. I think Jaden Daughtry can have a big night. He's a very physical guy who can step outside. So I would say probably Will or Jaden are those two guys that I'll be on the lookout for. That
would be a hell of a storyline if Jaden Daughtry decides to put up some points against his former coach.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm thinking about. I think there may be some kind of like, why didn't you bring me to St. Louis, right? I don't know if that was a conversation.
Chalkboard material, yeah.
Exactly. So
I get that.
I think I'm expecting Jaden to have a big night, and I hope so.
So let's get your prediction for this game then. We're going to put you on the spot. What do you got?
Just a quick predict.
Yeah. What do you got?
Yeah. So like, I love my spiders. Like I really do, and I'm very like I say I'm a realist, but then when it comes to, I'm like, oh, we can win this game. This game, I look at it, and for what you guys did, at the Siegel Center, like I watched all that, I was like, oh man. And we've been pretty good on the road this year, a lot better than we have been. Like I see it being like close in the first half, like it's back and forth. I think it's gonna be offense in the first half, and I'll be like, okay, we're in it. And then second half just falls off a cliff. I think you guys are just so talented, and I think Robbie's is going to be a huge problem for us, like he is every team. I just fear that Robbie's athleticism and the way he can play, outside the arc, is going to mess up Mike Walls. That's what I worry about, because we don't have that guy who can guard Robbie's passing ability. We can't a guy who can back in down and finish in tough areas. We don't have that kind of guy to defend. So I worry about Robbie's matchup. And so unfortunately, I think St. Louis is going to win this game. I just hope it's respectful. That's all I hope. I'll take a 10-point loss, and you guys go on an 8-0 run from free throws. Like I'll take that.
All right.
Where can our listeners find your work and follow you on social media?
Yeah, obviously A10 Talk. Follow that. I'm the spider guy. So anything you see anything spiders, that's me. I'll repost a lot of stuff on A10 from my Twitter account, Griffin Wright 19. And then obviously, if you want to listen to a High Point game, man, join. Hopefully in the Big South, I'll have a radio broadcast. I'll post it on my Twitter and join in. It's a lot of fun. We have a lot of fun on there. It's not a serious broadcast.
I like that. I think when you're inexperienced, you might as well lean into the fun. I did color commentary for one of the SLU women's announcer does McKendree games, and I did color one time for McKendree, and I just was just saying things, just not taking it, being respectful, but trying to just add a little color.
Yeah, exactly.
Come on.
Yeah.
No, Griffin, thanks again for joining the show. Has anybody over at Richmond used Follow the Spiders? Did they do that when Harry Potter came out? Did they use it as a marketing? Why don't they should do that.
They use something, and it's funny because I used to, when I was younger, I got scared because they had these big boards, and then they had a spider come in, bite the screen, and they used to have it, and I used to get scared, but then I'm like, that's tough. And I went to a Richmond game the other week, and they didn't have it, so I was kind of disappointed. But I probably got to text the marketing team or it was the social media team for that, because that's a good idea.
I miss the arena blimp at our arena, so I understand where you're coming from.
It's kind of like you grow up, you're like, oh, this is tough, and then it's like, why get rid of it?
Exactly. Good luck the rest of the season with High Point, and keep up the great work over there, and of course with A10 Talk. Thanks for coming on, man. It was a pleasure.
Yeah, man. Thank you guys for having me. A lot of fun, and I'm gonna keep watching these podcasts, and hopefully in the conference tournament, we'll see y'all again.
Sounds good. Take it easy.
Thanks, sir. You guys too.
Pete, let's head over to women's basketball. This may be the worst game.
Zach, if you told me SLU held VCU to 50 in this game, which is true, I'd have said, cool. This is a game they were supposed to win at home, and they took care of business, but that is not what happened. 50-39 was the score against VCU at home in a loss on Wednesday the 7th. This has to be the worst performance of the season so far, and against a bad team, Zach.
I mean, you don't even average double digits per quarter.
Ugh.
Unreal. I don't know how you only scored 39 against a team like VCU. I mean, again, this game was pretty close until VCU opened that fourth quarter with a 13-0 run. SLU ended up on that 8-0 run, artificially closed the gap. Kirkenmeyer, a lone bright spot in this one with another double-double, 11 and 13 with one block. We thought this was going to be the problem. The shooting, downright shocking. Alexia Nelson, 3 of 15. Zaya Nugent, 2 of 10. Shakira Brown, 1 of 9. Jada Dennis, 0 of 13. That's not going to do it for you. They went 13 of 62 from the floor, 3 of 25 from 3, went a perfect 10 of 10 from the line. VCU is a bad team. This should have been a blowout win for the Billikens. And this would have been maybe the ugliest loss of the season had it been against a team with any competence.
Yeah, I think that's true, Zach. It's inexcusable. It's inexplicable. I just don't even know what else to say about it. I mean, it was you can't lose this game. Now they're still down players. Jada Tiggett was day to day, but didn't play in this game. And Hannah Wallace, we still don't have an update to her status. We don't know if she's gone for good or just for now, but they need answers quick, Zach, because it did not get any better on Sunday the 11th at Loyola, a 71-64 loss against another 4-win team heading into this. SLU won the first quarter by 2. Loyola took a 37-31 lead into halftime after a big second quarter. SLU took it back with a big third quarter, and it was 55-49 heading into the fourth. That final quarter was an absolute disaster for the Billikens. Flat outscored 22-9, shot 2 of 12 from the field, 0 of 4 from 3, missed their last 8 shots, no field goals in the final 7:27, turned it over 4 times in the final 4 minutes.
Including maybe the like lamest turnover on a final possession I've ever seen. A chance to tie the game. The pass is inbounds. It bounces off the court. Bell Tillett knees the ball out of bounds. Right off her shin. I mean, I don't know what that's a position she cannot be in. That's putting her in a position of fail.
Yeah, they went small to try and finish this game out, and she was in there while Kirkenmeyer was on the bench for some of that final stretch. I know there were a lot of subs, and she tried to be kind of like offense defense, right? So she'd have Bell Tillett in for offense, and then would sub her out for defense. But Loyola finished on a 13-1 run. It didn't work. SLU shot 355 from the field, 261 from 3. They were outstanding from the free throw line, 824, so at least that was there. And looking at individual performances, Zach, on paper, there was no one dragging SLU down or bringing them up much, right? It wasn't like the previous game where you had 4 shooters where you could just point to them and say, there's your problem. Everyone was in line with the 36% team mark. 4 of 5 starters scored in double digits. The fifth had 8. The problem is they're just not getting much from the bench anymore. The bench is getting shorter. The lack of depth is catching up with them in a big way as the season goes on. And then, like the men's team, the foul bug also catches up with this team more often than not. Of the top 6 players in the game, 3 finished with 4 fouls. 3 of them had 3 fouls. So Tillett's also having to manage that too. It's just like when that many things are going wrong, you're going to get bitten on the road, even against a bad team like Loyola.
Yeah, I mean, just not good.
No.
Yeah, let's look at what's coming next here, Pete. They head to LaSalle on Wednesday the 14th. LaSalle is 10-6, coming off losses consecutively to George Mason and St. Joe's, bringing them to 3-2 in conference. SLU transfer Ashley Connor, second on the team in scoring at 14.8 points per game, shoots 35% from 3, excellent free throw shooter, and averages 5.6 rebounds a game, and she leads the team in assists as well. Versatile guard we'd love to have on this roster. Their leading scorer is Eris McToon, who averages 15.4. Like Connor, she's a 5'11 guard, not really a three-point shooter, better rebounder than Connor. Very average team, 183 in the net compared to 190 for the Bills. It's a road game, but with this SLU team, it's hard to say whether there's a home advantage or, I mean, I don't know what you're going to get with them. They either have it or they don't. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, they come back home to take on Dayton on the 18th, Pete.
Yeah, Dayton's actually behind SLU in the net. They're 201. They're 9-7 overall. They're 2-3 in the A10, coming off a win at Fordham. They'll host a very good Richmond team before they head to SLU. I can pretty much guarantee a loss there. They have a clear number 1 player, Nia Lear, 16.7 points a game. Everyone else on the team is under 9 points a game. She's a 5'10 senior guard. She doesn't shoot much from outside. It's not her game. Pure rhythm scorer. She's pretty turnover prone. So, there's some downside risk there. I think if you could shut her down, you probably can win this game. As a team, Dayton turns it over a ton. This is going to be a sloppy game. They're a good rebounding team, though. They've got decent size across the board. No one Kirkenmeyer size, but a ton of 6 foot to 6'3" kind of forwards and wings. So they're going to have an overall size advantage outside of that one matchup. Again, this is one of those teams that SLU needs to beat, though, if they want to be a top half team. They've improved from last year, but have a long way to go from being that Dayton team that used to be a guaranteed loss every year in the A10, Zach. They're not that anymore. So, SLU needs a bounce back week after a pretty bad one.
They're gonna drive us up a wall, Pete. Mm-hmm. Baseball. David Olson has been hired as the new hitting coach. He comes from Bellevue College, where he was the co-head coach and offensive coordinator. Prior to Bellevue, he was a volunteer assistant at Campbell for the Camels. He also finished his playing career and undergraduate degree from there. He played at Washington State and Tacoma Community College before that. Between playing and coaching at Campbell, he was a grad assistant at the University of the Cumberlands, where he got his master's in teaching. Pete, talk to me about softball. They got their annual fundraiser.
Yeah, just a quick plug for them. They've got their annual fundraiser dinner Saturday the 31st at 6 p.m. at Il Monastero, located at 3050 Olive. The event will feature a Taste of St. Louis dinner, introduction of the 26 softball team, remarks by the staff, a silent auction, a raffle. Tickets are $35 a person, and then all proceeds go to benefit the softball program. They are coming off a great year, so go out and support them if you can.
Oh, I know where that's at. I didn't realize. I had no idea what that is.
Have you been there?
I knew it was there. I didn't know what the hell it was.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah.
You didn't. Okay.
No, I know.
I gotta say, I've never been.
Well, that's gonna do it, man. We head into a home week. We'll see you all at Chaffetz. Well, I will. Pete, when are you gonna make it in? Soon?
Yeah, I guess I should have said that. I will be at the Richmond game this weekend. So I'll be in Friday to Sunday. It's MLK weekend, but I won't be staying for Monday. But yeah, I'll be at the Richmond game either way. That's the only plan I have this weekend, aside from family stuff, blah blah blah, that I'll get to at some point.
All right. Roll Bills, Pete.
Roll Bills.